Hello and welcome to Golden Axe for the Genesis. Well, actually, it's Golden Axe 2. So a lot of people play Golden Axe because that's basically part of the Genesis DNA at this point. And a lot of people play Golden Axe 3 because they realize Golden Axe 1 is a little lacking, and so they think, oh, let's play 3. It'll be the best version. Well, spoilers, there is no best version of Golden Axe. But what about that forgotten middle child, Golden Axe 2? What surprises could be hidden on this possibly 16 megabyte cartridge? 1991, Sega at their finest. Options menu, me at my finest. Hey, don't judge me. I'm trying to make it as far as I can through the game. What magic? Special magic or normal magic? I feel like a normal magic kind of person. You know, when I was a kid, I did not understand why anybody... Ooh, the duel. We'll talk about that later. It's stupider than it looks, but it's almost worth mentioning. Wait, have I played this Golden Axe before? You like literally cannot tell. Every Golden Axe looks the same. Wait, so you set it on easy and the enemies die in one round? Oh my gosh, so this was like... This almost seems familiar, and yet it doesn't. Like, the first Golden Axe had the dwarves in the green, and then they would give you magic power-ups. But in this one, they changed the dwarves into something somehow less aesthetically pleasing. And, well, honestly, they look like that weird floating guy from Thundercats. Oh, alright, now you get to the titular part of Golden Axe, where you can ride on the monsters. I guess that's not really the titular part of Golden Axe. Oh yeah, back to why easy is the best setting ever. So it looks like on easy, when you knock somebody down, then they stay down and they stay dead. Like, I don't know if you've played Golden Axe the regular way, but oh my gosh. It takes 2 rounds of knocking people out to, like, knock them out. Look at this. This guy sent, like, a wave of enemies at me, and I just trivialized it. I don't even think I've taken damage yet. This is great. I don't know why normal mode is the normal mode for Golden Axe. It should be called the easy... Well, I don't even know why it's called the easy mode. It should be called not wasting your time mode. Oh my gosh. It just makes the game twice as longer, and you don't even get anything out of it. And, like, the game is already too long anyway, because you just fight the same enemies over and over and over. Wow, I feel like I've found magical cheek. Oh, okay. For a second there, I thought they were gonna... I was just gonna beat up on frogs, and it's like, well, I don't remember this part, but I'm willing to live with this part. Is it me, or is this like Sega Master System era graphics in that crystal ball there? And now we're on the next level. There's just something about the Sega, that sound card they used in the Genesis. Oh, sad days. It finally takes 2 rounds of combat to knock this guy out, which is sad because in quote-unquote normal mode, it would take like 50. Okay, just 4. But 4 is a lot. 4 is a pretty big number. That is an exponential increase from 2, in fact. Yeah, there's just something nostalgic about this, like, the Genesis sound chip. No other system used it. Well, I don't think that's anywhere near true. But it is notably different than the Super Nintendo, which seems to be the retro console of choice. I mean, you talk to a lot of people who try collecting retro games, and they're like, oh man, Super Nintendo games are so expensive, and you're just like sitting here on your giant stockpile of Genesis games just kind of laughing your way to the bank, because Genesis games are dirt cheap, because nobody wants Genesis games. Yeah, okay, there were like 3 games for the Genesis that like everybody wants. You got the Castlevania one. Oh gosh, that Magical Cotton game. Like, that's a game you will never see physical because it costs $1 million. That's an exaggeration at this point in time, but who knows, sometime in the future it might actually be $1 million. Anyway, let's see. I said Castlevania. Well, pretty much think of any good all no. there was something called Alien Soldier or something. I heard it was maybe made by Treasure. It was a bunch of boss fights, basically. Yeah, that game, you're not gonna see that one physical. Actually, man, I wonder if even Gunstar Heroes is starting to get expensive. People are starting to catch on that Treasure is a good company. Unfortunately, Treasure kind of has that like way forward problem where like half the games they make are like kind of weird ports. Now they did make like Astro Boy for the Game Boy Advance, and that they poured their heart and soul into that game, and they made it as good as they could. And honestly, it turned out really good. But like, because it's a licensed game, because there's just so much of an existing stigma, it's like people are just not gonna buy it, both literally and figuratively. It is a sad state of affairs. Speaking of a sad state of affairs, we have just gotten ahead of this enemy. Oh, come on, man. Yeah, this game is way less cheap now that I set it to normal, though. And it's funny because it's the exact same gameplay. Okay, maybe the enemies are like a tidge less aggressive. I thought for a second there they were just like insulting you. They're like, okay, you can't even hit us like regular. Time for us to be snails now. And it's like, well, geez. Yeah, one thing that always happens is like, I think if you walk on the fire, you can actually take damage. Very disappointing. Huh. You know, Shovel Knight has those sequences in the middle. Are those actually an homage to Golden Axe? Now that, I would not have expected, because Golden Axe is a 16-bit game, as Sega kept trying to tell us. Well, that's true. The graphics are 16 bits of graphical intensity, but the gameplay is only the finest that 18 bits can muster. I mean, geez, come on. Even Final Fight had... Well, you know, I played Final Fight for the Game Boy Advance, which I assume is exactly the same as the arcade version. And frankly, it was very repetitive. Now, one fun thing about that game was, like, you could unlock features. And so, after a while, you can unlock auto-fire, which drastically changes the game. I won't... Well, okay. It improves the game, but, like, it's one of those things that, like, if auto-fire is an improvement for your game, maybe you're doing something wrong. Like, even shoot-'em-ups after a while, auto-fire stopped being a thing. Okay, come on, man. You have earned my wrath. Even in shoot-'em-ups, auto-fire stopped being a thing, because once you get to bullet hell, then, you get, like, cave and their different firing mechanisms. Man, I am going to be kind of in trouble when the real boss comes. Actually, yeah, that is kind of an interesting topic. Like, how do you balance the difficulty in a beat-em-up game? You know, just natural transition from bullet hell shoot-'em-ups. But, that's kind of interesting thinking about it, because, like, a lot of these games, they kind of give you this, like, screen... Well, they give you a bomb, basically. And so you can use the bomb to clear the screen. Are there any special moves? No. This was before special moves were invented. That sounds like an exaggeration, but that it could actually be true. Yeah, there were special moves in Street Fighter. Street Fighter 1, the weird arcade game with the 6 punch buttons that, like, nobody ever remembers. Also, it's kind of dumb, but it's cool. In a dumb kind of way, but it's still kind of cool. It's dumb in a cool way? That, I think, doesn't make sense. But, you give your characters a lot of bombs, and it's like, okay, how are you gonna balance that? Because, like, if you just give them a bomb each life, it's like, well, and you just put in more credits. What do you know? Those other guys were a distraction. Or decoy for these guys. These are the real bosses. You can tell because they're kicking your butt with no mercy. And look, I don't even get any magic or anything. How am I gonna trivialize this boss fight? Well, I'm gonna trivialize it the way you trivialize every fighting game, by jump kicking. One of the cool things about jump kicking, although I feel like I shouldn't really have to explain its immediate appeal, is that you can, in theory, attack enemies without taking damage. Now, I think a lot of the difficulty of a beat-em-up comes from how much can they counter your cheap strategies like this. Jump kicking does kind of suck, though, because then you don't get, like, all 3 hits of the... Wow, we are in easy mode. I could, like, legitimately beat this game. I don't really think I will, but if you would let me beat it, that would be great. That's such a funny concept. He's like, these animals walk into your town, and then they transform into humans, and then you start beating them up. And like, but they don't even fight back. So like, this is something you should feel bad about. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, but in the last stage, there were a bunch of skeletons on the floor. Well, the developers noticed that too, and now the skeletons come to life and will kill you. Well, I don't know about kill you, they are just the regular enemies. In numbers, they can kill you, but just as individual people, I guess former people, they're not really gonna do much. Yeah, I guess I should talk about the other characters in the game. They are basically all the same, except the difference, big difference, is that they can each hold different amounts of magic. Now, considering that you use all of your magic in one giant blaze of glory, that doesn't really mean anything. There were certain other differences, like their attack speeds and movement speeds. I think the dwarf, Gillian Thunderhead, I'm sorry, I think he attacks like slow enough that like it can actually get inconvenient, but it's not like the girl, sorry, Arissa Blade or something? Blaze? Why do I know their names? Like, you just know this information is overriding some important piece of information from my childhood. But nope, I can remember the dwarf's name from... I almost said RuneScape. What game is this again? I've been playing it for so long, I already forgot what game this was. But, yeah, all the characters are the same, all the enemies are the same, all the stages. Oh, you get a bunch of credits. You could even continue if you were so inclined. Faked you out. You thought I was gonna do one of those stop early and not play through the whole game things. Yeah, I thought I was going to too. And yet my thumb was magically attracted to the start button. You know how it is with video games. It's like being under warm, cozy blankets sometimes. Like, you get started and you just can't stop. Like, you don't want to stop. You don't want to get out from under those blankets. Like, you know it's not good for you. You know you're just wasting an entire weekend, but it just feels so good. Speaking of things that feel good, not fighting the same enemies on the same stages over and over and over. So I'll cut back to when something interesting happens. Oh, and what do you know? Something interesting happened. Well, it looks like now the lizards are completely regular enemies. Hey, you can't rush an attack, that's my job. Yeah, it is the most annoying thing in the world in these beat-em-ups when the opponents start doing the moves you can do. Oh man, if they ever started like jump slashing, I would be like completely sunk. Now, the one exception is like throwing people. Like, for some reason, when enemies throw me, it's like, I don't really mind. It might also be because I can't really throw them. Like, it's a little bit tough throwing enemies at beat-em-ups. It's interesting because, like, jump kicks are always so easy. Like, uniformly so. And yet, throws are always hard. But throws do have the possible advantage that you could, like, hurt somebody without taking damage. Like, it's one of the very few times in a beat-em-up they will willingly give you a projectile. This is impressive. Okay, yeah, it looks like you can really only throw people when they're kind of kneeling in front of you. A lot of fighting or beat-em-up games, you just walk into somebody and then you can throw them. Okay, this is serious now. The one upshot of Golden Axe is sometimes, on very rare occasions, they don't want to trivialize the game, but they do want you to keep playing. Sometimes you get vehicles. Now that I think about it, are they vehicles? Hey, okay, good. I think actually in Golden Axe 3, they can steal your rides. I hope they can't in this game. Oh, see, now we're on the train back to Dolesville. You just destroyed my one delight in life, riding on animals and beating people up with those animals. I wonder if that was the inspiration behind, I was almost gonna say Golden Slug, but no, it's Metal Slug. That would be an interesting inspiration. I guess it's not completely out of the blue, but that just seems like one of those things, because Golden Slug. Alright, you guys done laughing? You gotta be careful, because if you use your magic right away, they might be invincible, and it's like, well, Now who's the fool? It's certainly not the people you were trying to make a fool out of. Okay, now that we got them both interested and invested, it's time for some magic. I can't tell if that is the dumbest looking thing or the coolest looking thing. Oh, come on. Ay, ay, ay. They're not even any different. It's the same boss. It's the same boss for all the levels. Oh my gosh. I think the hardest thing of Golden Axe is like holding on to your magic, because you just know on any tough enemy encounter you could like completely trivialize it by using your magic, but you have to hold off because there's not a lot of encounters you need to trivialize, but that one at the end, that's the one you gotta do. Can you get more than full health? I guess not. 18. Oh, that's player strength. For a second there, I thought that was how many credits I had to use, and it's like, well, that doesn't sound right, but I wouldn't necessarily be able to disagree. Are we on the final stage? No, never. Beat 'em up. If you ever think in an arcade game you're on the final stage, yeah, right. Because the thing about an arcade game is once it ends, you stop putting credits into it. That sounds like an easy consideration, but think about this. If you were making an arcade game, how would you pad it out or how long would you make it? The answer is forever. You would make it forever. And so that's why fighting games were such a great deal for arcade owners, operators, programmers, everybody involved. Because those games you can play forever, literally forever. It never ends. Failing that, you get stuff like Ghosts and Goblins, where halfway through. So you make it to what you think is the final level. But then, as it turns out, it's not. You're only halfway through because the game repeats. There's a second loop. Twist. And the second loop is even harder. And for some reason, this doesn't feel exploitative because you're having because the second loop is prestigious. It's a good thing to make it to the second loop. And so, well, I'm not sure if their animal was better than my animal. AI that can only do two things, I have finally outwitted you. It only took me half a game to figure out how to counter enemies. But rest assured, that day that I did, it was a very glorious day indeed. Oh, wow. They're like going out of their way. So you have to like walk backwards because it attacks back. Oh, because it changes its facing after it attacks. Oh my gosh. I thought animals were like my one thing in this game you guys couldn't ruin, but you make it attack both ways. You know, I can't tell if having it attack both ways is actually a good thing or a bad thing. Because on one hand, oh, can't charge attack me if I charge attack you first. Because on one hand, oh, come on. I guess that was to be expected. Because on one hand, like, enemies like to surround you, and so you can nail them all the way. On the other hand, you get that slight bit of attack delay, which can be deadly. You know, I don't even know that you could, like, I could even beat this game on easy, and I have, like, 1,000 lives. I even set it to the maximum amount of health. Yeah, you think changing easy mode is gonna change a lot, but I think, well, I guess easy mode does change a lot, because the enemies take half as many knockdowns to destroy. But, don't neglect changing it to 5 health points. Okay. And finally, our many days of restraint pay off! Well, at least I hope they do. Oh, okay, that is off to a very good start. Do you think this is actually Death Adder? I know it's not, but yeah, actually, yeah, when I was a kid, I always thought Death Adder was the dumbest name. It's like really he adds death to the world. It's like that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Turns out it's just a snake. A Death Adder is a type of snake. I guess if you're in Britain, that probably makes a bit more sense to you. Wait, do you think Death Adder was named as such because Monty Python was such a big thing? I'm learning all sorts of interesting facts about my favorite pop culture franchises. well, Golden Axe, the best trivia game of them all. Oh my gosh, I'm living on the edge with no health. Okay, for a second there, I thought there was going to be another loop or something. Oh man, true peace will not come until you play and defeat the harder modes. But you know what? I am perfectly satisfied with fake peace. At least with fake peace. Oh, Class D license. I don't even know if that's like impressive or unimpressive. I didn't get an F, but I also didn't get an A. I guess that's like the one incentive to complete a game of Golden Axe. I don't think I've ever actually done that, like played Golden Axe till the end. And so I don't think I ever actually realized that the fighting strength culminated in something. I mean, you see it every time you go to a new stage. It like shows you your fighting level, but it also shows you a giant map, which is way more visually interesting than a stupid level. Alright, well, I alluded to this earlier. So, your Golden Axe experience is not done. In fact, there is an extra super secret mode, the Duel. Yeah, let's try. Stick with the tried and true classic. Oh my gosh. So how is the Duel different than the regular game, you might ask? Well, as far as I can tell right away, it's basically the same. Okay, that's not entirely true. So what it is, you go on a ladder, you defeat all these people, and then you fight on. Oh, you think they're gonna give you the animal for the rest of the game? You really haven't played enough Golden Axe. And you just fight through these guys. It's one of those things that, like, at first it sounds like fun, and in a sense it is fun because it kind of breaks up the tedium of going through a bunch of levels. But then you play it and you're like, wait a minute, no, this is just the game as regular. Why am I doing this? Why am I playing this game even more? The game already insulted me by telling me I should not play an easy. Why am I playing through the Duel? Oh, this guy has the most deadly weapon of them all. Another guy. I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of genius. It's like, oh yes, you can bring any weapon you want into the Duel. And you're like, okay, I bring another person. And they're like, well, there's nothing in the rules against it. And then he's like, oh, but I'd also like weapons for that other person. And they're like, well, you're already breaking the rules. It's like, you might as well. And he's like, okay, not only do I want a weapon for another person, I also want them to have an animal. And they're like, look, pal, you're really pushing your luck. Stop doing this. And then you do it. And it's like, okay, what now? It's like, okay, I'd like my friend to be, I don't know, Gigantus? Wait, oh, are they attacking me with scythes or pickaxes? That's, an interesting... Now, at first you might be tempted to say scythes, because, oh, hey, they're death, and death kills people with the scythe or whatever. But if you think about it, wherever we found the skeletons, it was mostly in these caverns. And so, really, those are probably the reincarnated corpses of dead miners. That's why there's so many of them, and that's why they have pickaxes. We're learning all sorts of the Golden Axe lore today. Golden Axe lore. Is there such a thing? You know, they made a 3D Golden Axe for the Dreamcast at one point. I remember playing it back when Dreamcast emulators were so much fun that I decided to play even a game like Golden Axe. And you know what? It was not fun. It was fun to play it in 3D, sure, but like if you're gonna play a Dreamcast game, it's like you might as well stick to the tried and true classics. I hear there's a few good Sonic games, arguably the last few good Sonic games. Oh, and now we finally get our challenge round, a boss. Okay, for a second there, I thought they weren't even gonna show his health bar. It's like, oh, you're fighting a boss. You're getting the entire boss experience. Wow, is it long? Well, so if I did only jump attacks, this would take a lot longer to beat them. But at the same time, well, in fact, you even get to see their health bar. So you can see in real time how much time you were wasting. And that, I mean, is one of those things where, like, if you're okay with just wasting your time just sitting there and do jumping attacks all frigging day, hey, you know what? More power to you. Go take my jump attacks too while you're at it. But, like, I do not have any such patience. But on the other hand, that means I can't make it to the end of Golden Axe. I can't see the true ending. It's like, guess what? I'm gonna spoil the true ending. I don't actually know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it says, hey, you have achieved the real piece. And it's like, great, this was worth it. This was worth, well, I guess it was only 20 some odd minutes playing through Golden Axe. Of course, that's because I set it on easy mode, and that means characters have half his health, I assume. And so, yeah, you played on normal, it'll take you a good, I don't know, 40 minutes, and then you play on hard. I don't think they're evil enough to triple the enemy's HP. Or no, I mean, sorry, quadruple the enemy's HP. It's probably just triple. But I would not put it past them. I mean, hey, say what you will about Sega, but they know how to make an arcade game. Both in the quality, goodness sense, and in the how to make quarters on your investment sense. Well, how long will I last? This should be the point in the game where I would use some magic. So, if you guys would gladly nope, no magic. Well, I guess I should at least do an honorable death. Man, it's really tough when they have a longer attack range than you do. Like, I kind of get why they do that, but it's like, come on, can't we at least... Unfortunately, you were defeated. It's like, oh geez, no way. I didn't defeat literally every... Oh man. Oh man. At least I was playing on the real difficulty. Dual is the hardest difficulty of them all. Yeah. So that was Golden Axe 2, the complete experience. There's nothing more that could be experienced from this game. Well, on one hand, like most Golden Axe experiences, it was tedious, annoying, and whatever. But on the other hand, well, having a camera set up kind of makes you act a little bit better, and it kind of gives you that extra little push to make it to the end of the game, even if you are just playing on easy with 5 health. Would I say it was a productive use of time? No. Would I say I feel enriched for having done it? Well, maybe, but I don't know. Like, there was this one time when I bought one of those plug-and-play Genesis... You know what? The game plays itself. Why am I even here? So, there was this one time when I played this, like, plug-and-play Genesis game thing. Now, this was the Radical Pacific one. What? I think there's Radical and there's Jack Pacific. Anyway, this one was shaped like a small Genesis, and it had a bunch of Genesis games on it, including, but not limited to, at least one Golden Axe. And again, they are exactly the same. And I don't even think I played through that game, because that's just annoying. Then again, like, it had other games like Flicky and A Sonic. I don't even know which Sonic it was. That's another one of those cases when all the Sonic games are the same. Yeah. I mean, people like to talk about all these Golden Axes and Ultra Beasts and Sonics on their Genesis like they were such hot games, but honestly, the best thing to do with the Genesis is to buy a few arcade ports and just pretend like you have your own personal arcade setup. And in a sense, you kind of do. I'll make a slight exception for Phantasy Star, but again, earlier we were talking about like Genesis games that are going to be expensive, and it's like a battery-backed JRPG for the Genesis. It's like, you can kiss your money goodbye. You are not buying that. And especially Shining Force, it's like, okay, Shining Force 1, yeah, sure, everybody and their mother had that. Shining Force 2, yeah, right, you're not getting that. And then Shining Force 3, it's like, you can't even play that in English yet, I think. I don't know. I guess it's been like 5 years since I last checked, but to be fair, things were looking pretty grim on the translating Shining Force 3 front. Also, you have to play it on the Sega Saturn, which has also looked pretty grim on the will you be able to emulate it fully in 5 years front. I think Saturn emulation is pretty good now, but, well, I'd have to check. Still, the most exciting thing about Golden Axe is it gives you plenty of time to think about other things you could be doing with your time. Sometimes that's valuable, because I guess if the alternative is spending all day underneath your blankets on a cold day, well, maybe I'd take blankets. And on that note, this cat's got a scat.